15 years ago, Americans woke up to a new era of terrorism as al-Qaeda carried out the worst terror attacks on U.S. soil. But for so many Muslim Americans, it was also an awakening to a new reality, the perception of their community's guilt by association.
Islamophobia is on the rise, there's no doubt about that. The political rhetorics by some, unfortunately, irresponsible politicians that inflame further fear and phobia among our American friends, that resulted into some violent behaviors.
Early this month in Queens, an elderly Muslim woman was killed near her home, just weeks after an imam and his assistant were shot dead outside a mosque. Many in the Muslim American community say these were hate crimes in a time of increasing Islamophobia that could unravel years of efforts to bridge differences.
We kind of feel like we built some relationships, but it's still so much worse for Muslims 15 years later in New York City than it was even days and weeks and months after 9/11.
Organizations tracking Islamophobia say violence against Muslims increased after last year's Paris attacks and the San Bernardino shooting, and escalated during a presidential campaign peppered with anti-Muslim rhetoric. In this climate of fear, the possibility that the Muslim holiday of Eid Al-Adha would coincide with the September 11th anniversary drew calls for Muslims to postpone the celebration. But Muslim Americans say the two events are not related.
This particular Eid is all about sacrifices. It commemorates the sacrifice that the Prophet Abraham made. As far as 9/11 is concerned, it's a commemoration of those that have lost, including our own family members, including our own friends. And so for Muslims, it's a day of mourning like everyone else.
Now, the coordinated terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001 killed nearly 3,000 people. Of them, 60 were Muslims. And as the nation remembers those who lost their lives, Muslim Americans tell me that it is also important to remember that, as Muslim Americans, they are intrinsically Americans too.
So, Liling, you're obviously in Manhattan 15 years on since the 9/11 attacks. How has Ground Zero been transformed?
Well, physically, the healing process here in New York City is visible. Down by Ground Zero, where rubble once stood, we're seeing businesses thriving, hotels have been thriving as well, and a spectacular transportation hub and underground shopping mall has recently started up, fully operational. And of course, there's One World Trade Center. You can see it behind me, also known as the Freedom Tower. That also opened recently, standing tall over the Manhattan skyline, a testament perhaps to the New Yorkers' commitment to move beyond this, to move past this tragedy without losing sight of this defining moment in American history. But there remains a lot of raw wounds. As we know, first responders continue to battle with illnesses and cancers from breathing in toxic fumes and dust exposures during rescue and recovery efforts in the aftermath of the attacks. And 9/11 families are also seeking to sue the Saudi government over alleged connections to the 9/11 attacks. So for too many people, the healing process still continues.
Liling Tom, thank you for that in New York.